Alright, well, we're back with a new deck. If you guys aren't familiar with this list, it was originally coined by Jerry Thompson, given to John Pinnock for a PTQ that he played in, which he ended up losing his win in it with. But it was a spicy brew that tried to abuse Amulet of Vigor and Primeval Titan, which is something that George and I tried to come up with when it was back in Standard. It would also include Lotus Cobra, but we didn't have the bounce lands, so it would use fetch lands, and it would require Lotus Cobra to be on the battlefield to get the mana engine going. Anyways, for you guys who are not familiar with the list, the primary interaction is Amulet of Vigor and what's called the Bounce lands from Old Ravnica. Now, usually what happens is when you play the card Summer Bloom, which is the name of the deck, you're going to get to play 3 additional lands in the turn. Ideally, you want to play the Amulet on turn 1 and then have one of the green bounce lands for the second turn. You play the green bounce land, and then you have to make sure you stack the triggers correctly to where amulets will resolve first. You untap the bounce land and get to add 2 mana and return the bounce land from its own trigger. Then the Summer Bloom, after you cast it from that 2 mana, will allow you to do that 3 more times, and that gives you 6 mana for Titan. And if you don't have the Titan, usually you have a Summoner's Pact, or you just don't do that until you find a way to get it. Other than that, the deck is just filled with basically necessary cards like Draw, Ancient Stirrings, helps you find bounce lands or amulets, and Wargate is an addition that I saw in Pinnock's list. It's really only going to find amulets and bounce lands. That's the only thing I've ever used it for. I've had sufficient mana to go get Titan, but it would have been a poor use of the mana, I think. But noticing that if you kind of stumble a little early and they find a way to do something, and whether it be disruption or any kind of removal, if it's permanent or creature based, it can kind of be difficult to do because you don't have removal in the deck. And a problem that Hugo and I kept running into was Aethersworn Canonist. So we thought we wanted to add some tech against it, and just kind of a snowball for creatures and other non-land permanents, usually just in the form of an artifact, is enough to do it. So Wargate can just kind of tutor those up. The only other thing really we would need to worry about is the Torpor Orb stopping Primeval Titan triggers, and this gets around Torpor Orb better than Sliver does. It's the same it's the same amount of mana investment, except for you can just get this on 2 and then just wait a turn, and it gets around Torpor Orb. So that was our addition. But other than that, the deck is very streamlined. We're playing Lotus Cobra over the legendary creature that lets you play 2 lands every turn. I find it to be a little better, although I haven't had sufficient testing with the other one yet. The thing I don't like about the deck, other than its high variance, is the lands. It's very awkward because you don't need this many lands in the deck. You really only could probably get away with like 21 or 20, maybe even 19. But the thing is, the reason it plays 24 isn't to hit its land drops from drawing. It's really just to filter out all the necessary lands. Like, you need this many bounce lands with green in order to draw an early bounce green, and that's 6. The filtering with the fetches is for color consistency and the fact that we added the double white. You need the 1 Boros Garrison to tutor up with Titan in order for the combo to work, and you just need all of the lands in here required to get the engine working consistently. 1 copy of Vesuva wasn't getting it done. Kessig Wolf Run seemed pretty necessary in order to help more explosive draws if it wasn't enough mana consistently to activate the Sun Home. But it's weird, like, it ended up being 24 lands just because we had to physically play all these lands in the deck for the engine to work consistently. Like, you could drop a Misty, I guess, but with Lotus Cobra, you need to make sure you hit them consistently with Explorers and stuff. Other than that, the deck I think is pretty good. Like, it doesn't need to win on turn 2 and 3 every time like it seems like it needs to. Often if you're pacting and you don't kill them, it's pretty easy to pay the mana with all the lands Titan gets. Although there was one awkward moment where I had too many colorless lands, and he Vapor Stacked the Titan after my attack, and then for some reason he was playing Regress, and he regressed my second green source, so I lost my packed lapsing trigger. So that was awkward, but the interactions is pretty interesting for the most part. I mean, you want to try to, if you're lucky, get 2 amulets, and 1 Primeval Titan is almost always sufficient to kill them. Though with 1 amulet, you're really only going to push about 16 damage through. The thing about the deck that I think is good is it's very skill rewarding because it's very difficult to play. It's complex in its nature. The better you are, I think the less the variance matters. But other than that, it's worth playing. It's very fun, and the high variance makes it even more fun, and it's very explosive. So stick around for a few rounds.